Starbucks is struggling. Starbucks built its empire by serving America's middle class, and now that middle class is shrinking and the cost of living is rising. And Starbucks is facing the same reality that millions of customers do, and people are starting to cut back. Customers complain about long lines, higher prices, and worse quality. Even their signature pumpkin spice latte, the drink that defined fall for a whole generation, has lost its shine. Profits fell by nearly 50% in 2025 after 6 straight quarters of declining sales. US store traffic dropped again this summer, and the company closed around 450 stores and cut 900 corporate jobs to reduce costs. Competitors like Dutch Bros, McDonald's McCafe, and even boba shops are taking pieces of the market Starbucks used to own. It's a new reality for a company that once represented the American dream. But the thing is, Starbucks is losing customers, its relevance, and all of this says something bigger about the economy, consumerism, and the American middle class. So today, let's break it down. How Starbucks built an empire on community and coffee, and how it all started to crumble when the middle class that fueled it began to disappear. For years, Starbucks sold coffee, and it also sold a lifestyle, a small luxury you could afford even if you couldn't afford much else. The whole treat yourself mindset fit perfectly in the 2000s and early 2010s, when wages were flat but credit was also cheap. And back then, spending $5 on a latte felt harmless, and the same could be said for the dollar menu at McDonald's. It was comfort, it was identity, and it was a brand that made ordinary life feel a little special. But fast forward to today, that whole illusion is kind of crumbling, it's breaking. A growing share of Americans say they now see Starbucks as overpriced, and they're choosing cheaper options like McDonald's, Dunkin', or home brewed coffee. And when people start replicating your product themselves at home, it's not just about saving money, it's also about losing value, whether it's cultural, emotional, or even financial. And the deeper issue isn't necessarily Starbucks, it's the people who used to buy Starbucks without thinking twice. The American middle class, the backbone of the company's customer base, is shrinking. In 1971, the year Starbucks opened its first store, more than 60% of US adults lived in middle-income households, and today, it's less than half. And according to Pew Research, the median American household earns about $74,500 in 2025. But when you adjust for inflation and rising costs, that income buys less than it did 10 years ago. And it's a slow squeeze. You feel it at the grocery store and the gas pump, and now at Starbucks. When people start rethinking their daily coffee routine, it's not because they suddenly stopped liking it, it's because their budget forced them to. Starbucks raised prices several times over the past 3 years. In some markets, drinks cost 20% more than before 2020. And the company says it had no choice. Ingredients, rent, labor, all have become more expensive. Coffee bean prices have also climbed due to climate issues and shipping costs. Starbucks says it's paying baristas more than ever, which is true, but even those workers struggle with rent and living costs. And the irony is that Starbucks became a victim of the same inflation it passed on to its customers. Higher wages increased costs, which pushed up prices, which drove away the very same customers who made the brand successful. And in economics, that's a feedback loop, and it's a tough one to escape. And the shift isn't unique to Starbucks, it's happening around the economy. McDonald's sales growth slowed this year as consumers complained about menu fatigue and higher prices. Target, Walmart reported weaker sales in discretionary categories like clothing and home goods. Even Amazon saw slower spending on non-essential items. And Americans have been pushed to the point where they're now prioritizing essentials, food, rent, utilities, and whatever is left over is shrinking fast. The average US household carries more than $104,000 in debt. And that includes mortgages, car loans, and credit cards. And credit card debt alone hit a record $1.21 trillion this year. And when your money is going towards survival and debt payments, small luxuries are the first to go. Starbucks coffee, streaming subscriptions, Uber Eats, they all fall under what economists call elastic spending. All things you can live without. And that is where Starbucks finds itself. It's not that people stopped caring about quality coffee, they stopped feeling like they could afford it. And for years, buying Starbucks was a small way to feel good. Now it's a reminder of how expensive life has become. Psychologically, people are rethinking value. Instead of asking, do I want this? More people are simply asking, can I justify this? It's a budgeting decision and it's also now emotional. The whole latte factor, a personal finance term made popular in the early 2000s, argued that skipping small daily expenses could save you thousands a year. And back then, it was theoretical, and today, it's the reality of so many people and really, it's survival. Many Americans now spend $1,200 or more a year on coffee, and cutting that back even by half can mean catching up on bills, saving for emergencies, or paying down debt. And whoever is left of the middle class isn't really upgrading their lifestyle anymore. Instead, they're just simply trying to hold on. Starbucks once thrived because it made people feel like they were part of something aspirational. The third place. It wasn't home, it wasn't work, it was where you belonged. But in a world where the cost of living is rising faster than wages, having a third place or a sense of belonging feels like a luxury, and customer satisfaction scores are falling. And at the same time, cheaper competitors are catching up. Dunkin' offers similar drinks for less. Convenience stores like 7-Eleven and Circle K have improved their coffee programs. And there's even a Chinese coffee brand called Luckin that serves coffee for only $2. And even fast casual chains like Panera or Pret offer comparable espresso drinks. The main point being that Starbucks no longer owns the idea of affordable luxury, simply because that space isn't really a thing anymore. And this whole struggle about Starbucks is really reflective of the economies. The US GDP continues to grow, but most households don't feel richer. Stock markets are strong and even are reaching all-time highs. Corporate profits are high, but that wealth isn't evenly shared. Most people aren't really doing all that well. Over the past decade, the top 10% of households gained nearly all the increase in national wealth. Meanwhile, half of Americans have less than $500 in savings. Education, healthcare have all outpaced inflation. Even basic things like insurance and food are taking up more of your income every single month. And that's the real reason behind Starbucks' decline. When the foundation of the economy weakens, brands built on disposable income crumble first. A cup of coffee had caffeine, and it was also comfort, identity, and even hope for a lot of people. But consumer culture runs on optimism. When people feel financially secure, they spend more, and when they feel squeezed, they start questioning everything. And that is what's happening now. People are asking whether paying $7 for a drink makes sense when groceries cost 25% more, when rent is due and wages haven't moved at all. Consumerism relies on confidence, and right now, a lot of people's confidence is gone. And to be clear, you don't need to give up coffee, but you do need to be aware of where your money goes. If you spend, say, $6 a day on Starbucks, that's about $180 a month. In over a year, it's more than $2,000. Over a decade, invested at a modest return, it could grow to over $30,000. And that's the real cost of convenience. And this whole takeaway isn't to stop enjoying things that make life easier. It's all about the trade-offs. Every purchase has an opportunity cost, money that could have gone to savings, paying off debt, or investments. And you can still buy what you love, just make sure it fits your goals in the long term. And a lot of people in the middle class have lost stability by spending like everything was fine when it wasn't. And now, a lot of that has to change. In my opinion, Starbucks will survive. It's a global brand with loyal customers, but it's a story about what's going on in the world. When companies build their success on endless spending, they're only as strong as the financial health of its customers. And right now, a lot of American consumers are taking a step back. And Starbucks' decline is about its coffee, and really how the economy feels for the people living in it. People are seeing it in their bills, you feel it in your bank account, and you are starting to notice it every single time you second guess a small purchase that used to feel harmless. It's about this bigger shift, where we live in a world where people are waking up to the real cost of convenience and lifestyle inflation. And sure, you can't control the economy, but you can control how you spend in it. It's about making small little choices that protect your future instead of feeding someone else's profit margin. The middle class isn't drinking less coffee because it wants to. It's drinking less because it has to. And that's it. Let me know what you think about Starbucks and this decline that we're seeing across the board. Will it continue? Is this the beginning of something else? Or is it just a big nothing burger? If you enjoy videos like this blend of consumerism, pop culture, and finance, please leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any other videos. Thank you very much for watching. And if we zoom out, one of Starbucks' biggest competitors isn't a coffee chain. It's tea, milk, and some sugar. Some call it boba, some call it bubble tea, or milk tea. So check out the next video on how boba has turned some of the world's cheapest ingredients into a global empire.